Hello? Can you hear me? Check, 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 check. Looks like I'm coming through. All right, you can hear me. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to yet another Red Seat live stream. My name is Corbin. Who we got in the chat already tonight? I see Shooters in there. What's going on, my friend? Mr. Money Mike Manis. Always the first one to comment on these live streams. Pretty impressive stuff. Lee, how are you? Mason, Christian. Same Mason? Same Mason. What's up, Moose? Hank, how are you? Yeah, I don't really have to be honest with you, I don't consider the Blue Jays a rival of the Red Sox. I'm rooting like I don't have like a oh my god, this team needs to win the World Series type thing. But yeah, I think I'd prefer the Blue Jays to win than I would the Dodgers to win. I'll be honest, right? I think yeah. I think I'm more praying for the flu. What, I don't sound good? Yeah, I was fine like all day, and then like 10 minutes later, or 10 minutes before stream right now, I just got like sick out of nowhere. You know what the problem is? I went away this weekend and I spent some time with my fiance's niece, and she's like 10 years old, and every time I spend time with her, I get sick, right? Because our kids have got all these like germs that we don't get exposed to anymore. So I think that's what it is. But yeah, I'm a little under the weather, but we're still here. We're still here. Screw the Jays, dude. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't have any like, I don't know. I don't have any crazy ill will towards the Jays. I don't like them, right? Especially when they face the Red Sox. I don't like them, but I'm not sitting here being like, well, the guy from the AL East can't win, right? Because to me, I still think Dodgers are enemy number one. What's up, Valenti? Getting a leg up on us, brother. We're not winning the World Series. You know what I mean? Like, the Red Sox aren't going to win the World Series, so what does it matter? Right? That's how I look at it. If it was Red Sox versus Blue Jays, obviously. Or Blue Jays versus Mason, who were you rooting for when it was Blue Jays versus Yankees? You were rooting for the Yankees, right? And then I rooted for Seattle because I like Seattle's story, but Seattle didn't win. And I don't want to see the Dodgers go back-to-back. I don't like teams going back-to-back. I think it's cool in baseball that it's unbelievably difficult for a team to go back-to-back like that. If they kind of cakewalk into a second championship in a row, I don't know that that's great for baseball. You know what I mean? What's up, Speed Racer? I almost always root for the AL in the World Series. Yeah, I do too. You want to see Mookie get another? I guess that's fair. No. You don't want to see Mookie? What's up, George? How you doing? Can't wait to go to Toronto and talk trash after they blow this World Series. Mason's traveling to Toronto just strictly to do that. It would be unbelievable. Yeah, true. Mookie going to the Hall of Fame with a Dodgers cap is unbelievably depressing. I will say that. It's weird watching it this early. Speed, do you normally watch it this early? Because, like, I don't know. I always go live at 7. I think I've gone live at 7, like, my entire career here on YouTube. All right. So, we're not talking strictly about the World Series tonight. We are talking about some Red Sox baseball. I would say hot stove preview rumors, right? Oh, you're on vacation in Vegas. Hell yeah. Right? Because, like obviously there isn't going to be any legitimate, substantial rumors, or, you know, the word I'm trying to say, right? You understand what I'm saying? Because the Red Sox, they can't do anything yet. We're getting close to the Red Sox being able to do something. It looks like next week we're going to start to get the actual conversations about, what guys are the Red Sox actually having conversations with and stuff like that. I don't think we're going to see any signings or anything for a little bit, but we're going to be getting some interesting information. Until then, though, we've got some stuff that we're talking about in terms of like sort of leading up to free agency and sort of what to expect coming into free agency. And I think the conversation gearing towards Alex Bregman, right? We got George asking what are the chances of re-signing Bregman. Hank's asking what's the max contract you would give Bregman. And I think that's a good segue because one of the conversations we're going to be having tonight is about the Alex Bregman projected contract. And that's sort of there are a couple of different ones I wanted to talk about here. So I wanted to start with Bleacher Report. You know what I mean? Bleacher Report, fantastic in terms of me working with them and getting Red Sox news, right? In terms of the way that they predicted value, they haven't exactly been incredibly accurate over the past. So I take it with a grain of salt, but we are going to go over a couple of different places here. But the first one is, one thing I did want to point out is when Chris Cotillo talked to Alex Bregman, right? The one thing that he said was a very high priority for him, and let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Chris Cotillo asked him if it was a goal that his next deal in some form or fashion would allow him to find a place he could call home for the rest of his career. For sure, that's definitely a high priority, right? And I think we already kind of knew that. Right? I think we kind of already knew that. And that's kind of the idea that we all kind of went into this, that Alex Bregman, opted out of his deal, not because he thought he could make a significant amount more money over the course of his contract with the Red Sox, but because he could get a legitimate amount of years. Now, Shooter's in here saying, well, Bregman didn't hit a lot of home runs. We need more power. I think you can kind of do both, right? And I think you should be able to do both. Now, in terms of people saying $200 million, I don't think he's going to get $200 million. They're predicting. So Bleacher Report's saying like 5 years, $175 million. We've got another one a little bit earlier on, a couple of days ago, and this is sort of what I wanted to bring into here, was that the Jim Bowden projected a 6-year, $182 million. So if we do the math on that, it's about the same amount of money, right? It's a little bit less for the 6-year one, but if we do that, right, what was it? Now I'm forgetting. Who would do better though? But here's the problem: is you sit there and you say we could do better, right? But my problem is the Red Sox should be looking at Alex Bregman and then some, right? And I think that's the problem right now. Is everyone's saying if they get Alex Bregman, they're not gonna have conversations with Schwarber, Tucker, whoever you guys are, or Alonso, or any of those Japanese players coming over, right? Murakami or Kazuma, whichever one you prefer. Personally, Kazuma. But you sit there and you say, well, if they get Bregman, they're not going to get anybody else. I don't think that's personally true, right? I think the Red Sox should be planning on being able to improve their on-base percentage and strikeout rate and improve their power without actually having to give up both, right? So we look at this and we say, okay, 6 years, $182 million. Let's say that's sort of the benchmark here for what Bregman's going to get, right? That's $30 million a year. So you take, I don't know exactly how much of his deal went into the luxury tax. I guess we could look that up. Like the payroll. I'm just curious to see how much Bregman, so it was $25 million. Because of the $5 million signing bonus. Next year would have been what? What would the opt-out have been? I don't know if it's going to show me. Yeah, it doesn't show me because he's technically already opting out. But I think it was $30 million next year. So it really wouldn't be too much of a difference on what the... the Twins just named a new manager. Derek Shelton. Looks like Ramon Vasquez is not going to be taken over or leaving. So it looks like we got Ramon Vasquez back for a bit. I really think the two biggest increases to the Red Sox are going to be Garrett Crochet, right? He's going to go up to $24 million a year, almost $25 million. And then Roman Anthony goes up to about $2 million a year. I think those are the two that are. I mean, really, it's it's Garrett Crochet, but regardless. So I sit here with the Bregman stuff, and yeah, 6 years to me seems like it's a bit of a. It's a bit of a risk, right? Because you're probably going to have to be. Yeah, we're going to talk about it in a second, Michael. I just want to finish my thoughts on Bregman here. So you're sitting here with 6 years, let's say 6 years, $180 million, and you're sitting there, you're saying that might be a little bit of a risk, right? But at the same time, too, I think the Red Sox are at a point in this sort of rebuild and the contention window and whatever you want to call it, where they're okay being able to take these risks, right? Because you've got Crochet locked down, you've got Roman Anthony, you've got these core guys locked into the foreseeable future of the club. You could take a risk that, hey, 4 years of solid Bregman and we eat the last two, but in those 4 years he's helped develop Roman Anthony into an absolute superstar. Not that he needs all the help in the world, right? But, having him there improves his gameplay. It also improves Marcelo Meyer. And all of a sudden, the core that you're talking about here is elevated because of an Alex Bregman. I still think eating those last 2 years in the contract is worth it. And again, does it address every single issue the Red Sox have? No. But also, is there anyone out there on the free agent market right now that would actually address every single need the Red Sox have offensively? The answer is no, unless you want to move Jarren Duran and Wilyer Abreu and sign Kyle Tucker. Right, Kyle Tucker is the one guy, but even Kyle Tucker wasn't very healthy this season, fell off a bit in the second half, right? As much as Kyle Schwarber gives you pop, he's also going to give you a ton of strikeouts, and the Red Sox were eighth worst in baseball when it came to strikeouts last season, right? It was one thing that everyone complained about is these strikeouts with runners in scoring position. Kyle Schwarber tended to do that last year, right? Pete Alonso, great bat. Not a good defender. He's not a very versatile player. Not that Kyle Schwarber really is either, but he's also a guy who's going to strike out a pretty decent amount. It's not going to be anything close to what Schwarber did, right? But he's going to give you power, but it's not really going to help the strike. Like, there's not really a single player on the market right now that you're sitting there saying, this is the dude who's going to fix all the problems, right? So to me, if you're looking at it, you're saying, all right, we need to take risks somewhere, right? We need to find a way to take risks. Is there a way to get power without overloading on the contract? I think there is, right? I think there's a way for you to do that. I don't know what the particular path is, but I think there's going to be some trade options available for bats on the open market this offseason. They're going to be really intriguing for the Red Sox. And, we're going to talk about Kyle Schwarber in a little bit and about the Red Sox interest in Schwarber over these next few months. And then you look at someone like Kuzuma is again another guy that you look at and you say, could that be interesting if the Red Sox, right? But if you continue this baseline of if you get Bregman in here and then build from there, I think you're in a really decent spot. So to me, with the contract projections coming out, I sit here and I'm all right with it. Now, a lot of people are also saying, Suarez. I don't love Suarez all that much, to be honest with you, right? He had a good season for sure, but his defense was not very good. Right, the defense was not incredibly impressive. In fact, it was really, really bad, right? He hit the ball really hard, but again, the strikeout rate's almost 30%, right? The walk rate's only 7%. At least with Schwarber, he's going to strike out around here, but he's one of the hardest guys to keep off base in baseball, right? With the walk rate and the power numbers, right? So you're essentially getting Kyle Schwarber without any walks. And if you're already iffy about Schwarber, which I am a bit iffy about Schwarber on here, you're getting a bad defender and a guy who strikes out. I don't give this guy anything more than, 2 years? Right? I mean, for the last 2 years, he had a sub 800 OPS, right? He hit 228 this season. I get it. He also hit 50 home runs. So you're sitting there and you're saying that balances out, and absolutely does on a lot of levels here. But he also had a sub 300 on base percentage, right? You're talking about building these holes or filling these holes in for the Red Sox piece by piece here. Suarez fills one, but creates two more, and I think that's a problem. I don't think this is a guy who ages well either, right? I think you pay this guy long term. He's 34 years old, right? A 3-year deal brings him almost to his late 40s. At least with Bregman, you've got the contact, you've got the inability to strike out, you've got the walk rate, right? So if he loses power, which he did a bit this year, he could still be a productive player. He's also a pretty solid defender. If you sign Bregman for 6 years, is there a chance by year 3 or year 4, he's sitting there saying, look, I'll DH, look, I'll play first base, right? And he's still going to be a solid defender over there because he was a good defender at third base, right? Suarez loses that power. He's a negative hitter everywhere else, and he can't play great defense, right? I don't like Suarez as a fit for the Red Sox. So I'm good with that. I'm definitely good with Suarez here. 1 year with an option. The problem is this offseason specifically is going to be really, really difficult for you to get a guy with 1 year, like these sort of Alex Bregman type contracts, so these Cody Bellinger type contracts, whatever you want to call them, because if Bregman gets 6 years, I'll come on your channel and eat a shooter. I want someone screenshot that, please, because I can almost guarantee you Bregman gets like 5 years with an option. I can almost guarantee it. Someone screenshot that for me. It's good. So anyways, back to this conversation of, these sort of 1 year deals with the opt-outs after another. I'm sitting here with the lockout potentially in 2027. I don't think a lot of guys, unless it's the only option they have, aren't going to take that, right? They're going to take a 2-year deal with a little bit less money. I can almost guarantee it. Do I still root for Mookie? Yeah, I think, Mookie specifically, yeah, he's one of those guys you just kind of always root for. The Dodgers as a whole, no. So anyways, projections for Bregman, 5 or 6 years is what you're looking at, right? Either a 5-year deal around 175 million, or a 6-year deal around 182, right? And I think that's honestly, if it's an option, I will hold the shoe for 5 years. Right? So for me, I don't think this is unreasonable, right? I think a lot of people were projecting him in the 200s, and now that you're seeing it sort of broken out as a 5-year 175, you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, that's a little bit more than 30 mil a year, right? That's like what, 35 mil a year? Let me do the math real quick because I'm terrible at math. Yeah, it's exactly 35. Look at me go. Never mind, I'm really good. I'm really good. Bye-bye, Bregman. I'm good. See, the problem is there's no real solution here, Shooter. Then who's the guy you give the big contract to? Who's the guy? Who's the guy you give the big contract to? Because I'm curious to see if you're so anti-Bregman for 5 years, who's the dude then that you're the one that you're saying, nope, I don't want this guy, give me this guy. Right? Because any of these guys I'm going to be able to poke holes in because there's no true, legitimate number one, this guy is going to transform this lineup type player here. There just isn't. Right? As much as I love Kyle Schwarber, and we're going to talk about Schwarber in a bit, Schwarber looks fantastic, right? Absolutely fantastic. But he can't play the outfield, and he doesn't help with your strikeout rates at all. Right? He doesn't. And he'll probably end up being more expensive, I'd imagine, than Alex Bregman. Pete Alonso. So first and foremost, Meyer at third is scary. Right? Meyer at third is scary because Meyer has not had a fully healthy season yet in his career. So to put the entirety of third base on Marcel Meyer, no, right? Like a little bit worried about that. I'd much rather come into a season where he's a starting second baseman. You've got options up the wazoo to take care of that in case he does go down. You don't have a ton of options at third base. You can't move Story over. That arm is cooked. Right? Romy can play a little bit at third base, but again, is that your everyday third baseman on a division contending team? I don't know. Right? I love Romy, but he's a role player, and we know he's a role player. He had a great year this season, and what? It was like it was close to 100 games. He had an 800 plus OPS. He was fantastic. But I don't know if you trust that defense over at third base for all those games. And then after that, Christian Campbell's not exactly a third baseman. You don't really have a third baseman sitting there. Meyer was great at third. I'm not saying Meyer wasn't a good third baseman. I'm saying Marcelo Meyer hasn't proven he's been healthy enough to be given the keys to the kingdom at third base for 162 games with very little in terms of backup, right? I'm perfectly okay with giving Marcelo Meyer the keys to shortstop or second base, without proving he's played 162 games, because you've got Story, you've got Hamilton, you've got Romy Gonzalez, you got Nick Sogard, you got a Mikey Romero in AAA. Right? All of those guys, and I named just a couple. There are more I could possibly name. Christian Campbell could potentially play second base. I don't like the idea, but if necessary, say Don Rafaela could play second base, right? You've got options there if Marcelo Meyer continues to not be able to play 162 games. If Marcelo Meyer goes down in May and is going to be out until July, who's playing those games in June? You don't have a ton of answers to that. Right, so to me, third base is an incredibly important position for the Red Sox to secure this season. And I get it, Alex Bregman has been injured. I totally understand that. But Alex Bregman has also proven that he can stay healthy over seasons before. Marcelo hasn't been able to do that. Right, so to me, there's already a bit of a hole in that. Why not Chandler Simpson? I'm good at that. No, because then you're going too far in the other direction, right? It's the same as the Luis Arraez conversation. Look, I'd love Pete Alonso, right? I'd absolutely love Pete. If the Red Sox landed Pete Alonso, I'd be psyched. I mean, you look at this right here is unbelievable, right? I mean, he's one of the best in baseball, literally everything when it comes to can he hit the ball hard, right? I mean, he was just unbelievable. I get a little bit worried with the idea of giving him, it's a kind of a similar conversation, right? If let me look at 2024 before I give this conversation take. One thing I really like about Pete Alonso that I think kind of goes underrated is unlike a Suarez or something like that, he's got these power numbers, but he's also really solid at being able to draw a walk. And I think that and I think that he could age pretty well. The only thing I get worried about is being able to fit him on the roster for 6-7 seasons. That's the only thing I get. And again, here's where I sit with these guys is I sit there and I say, look, if the Red Sox really want to be this sort of team that's opening up this contention window, why not sign both Bregman and Alonso? Right? Why not be able to finish out your corner infield and then utilize this incredible talent you have to finish out the other two spots? Like, imagine an infield where it's Bregman, Story, Marcelo Meyer, and Pete Alonso. I mean, that to me feels like an absolutely fantastic infield, right? And again, you've got backups at all those positions. Heaven forbid Marcelo Meyer goes down. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's not that I don't love Pete Alonso. It's just that I think you should be able to not have to sit here and say it's one or the other, right? If it comes down to one or the other and you had to give one of them 7 or 6 years, I could see the argument for Pete Alonso being the guy to give 6 years to, right? Younger, a bit more durable over his last few years, fits the Red Sox mold a little bit better. But he doesn't do everything the Red Sox need him to do, right? There have been seasons recently where he's just not been able to get on base all that much. Right, where and I get it. Average is kind of an antiquated stat in some ways, but I do still think it's important to see a guy hitting 217 in the middle of the order, right? Vaughn Grissom at third base. There's not a chance Vaughn Grisham's going to be here. Do I think Meyer gets packaged in an offseason deal to get a top-line starting pitcher? I personally, I don't think so. And it's not just my bias because I love Marcelo Meyer, but we said it this last offseason, right? You had an opportunity to turn one of these big three guys, and you did, right? You turned Kyle Teal into Garrett Crochet. Right? But the problem is is that now these guys have reached the major league level, right? So you've committed to them. You fully committed to them. To me, I think they play these three out. I think they play them out, unless the perfect deal comes along, right? If I don't know what would be constituted as a perfect deal, but like if the Reds came to you and said, look, we'll do Hunter Green for Marcel Myers straight up. There's a way that I could see the Red Sox doing it. Yeah. Trade for Skubal, extend him for $450 million, pay Cease, ride the kids out. No, Skubal will not take an extension at this point. Skubal will not take an extension at this point. What's up, Corbin? What's up, Braden? Damn, I did it again. What's up, Brad? What would we do about Casas? Let him get healthy, right? Let him get healthy. It's the only answer. You can't sit here and assume that Tristan Casas is going to be ready to go for opening day or ready to go at all for a little bit, right? You got to assume that guy's going to be, and in my opinion too, he's got options, right? So if you sign Pete Alonso, you could start him in AAA, let him get back on his feet, maybe even potentially give him a year or whatever it is to get himself going again, and then have a conversation about it in 27, or even just let him sort of take over a DH role. I'd love to see him maybe focus solely on hitting. Maybe you dump Masis, put Alonso at first base or whatever, and then have Tristan Casas be your everyday DH, or maybe flip-flop those guys. I don't hate that idea either, but again, those conversations are kind of tabled completely until you could figure out whether or not Tristan Casas can get back on the field, because if he can't get back on the field, none of it matters, right? None of it matters. I mean, designate a runner for Casas. I feel like you got enough fast guys on this team where you can kind of let Casas be this slow dude and it not really matter, Okay, so we went over the Bregman projections. We got sidetracked about Pete Alonso. Oh, Schwarber. Let us talk about it. Is this what we want? Oh, our friend Chris Henrique wrote this article. Okay. Where is it that I'm looking for here? There it is. Okay. According to Mass Live's Chris Cotillo, Boston loves Schwarber and is expected to express real interest in the power hitter if he does not return to Philadelphia. Now, the problem I immediately come up with this Kyle Schwarber conundrum here is that the other thing that's being reported pretty heavily right now is that Philly doesn't want to see Schwarber leave, right? That if Philly, it kind of sounds like Philly's going to go out there and say, look, brother, we're going to let you talk to a whole bunch of teams. We're going to let you, take your pick, figure out what your contract situation's going to look like. Then we're going to let you come back to us, tell us what you're getting paid from these guys, and we're just going to match it and bring you home. Right? That kind of sounds like what's going to go on here with the Phillies and Schwarber, which means I don't have a ton of faith the Red Sox can sort of godfather their way into bringing Kyle Schwarber back, right? But I will say, the only team, in my opinion, where Schwarber may sit there and say, right, would be the Boston Red Sox, because one, that was a team he was on immediately before, and two, he loved the city, he loved the fans in Philly. He sure did the same thing here in Boston, right? So I wouldn't totally disagree with that. Hey, do we got a moderator in here? If Boston loves Schwarber so much, we should have extended him when we had the chance. Dude, this conversation is so overplayed to me, because this is such a different conversation, Christian, having it in 2025 going into 2026 than it was in 2021 going into 2022. Right? It just is a completely different conversation. Because we sat there going into 21 and 22, and even like at the time that we were talking about it, there was a conversation going on at that time, right? Where it was really not up to the Red Sox. Right? It was up to JD Martinez. You can't have two DHs on the same damn team. And when JD opted in, it made it almost impossible for the Red Sox to give Schwarber what he was worth, because ultimately everyone knew he was going to end up as a DH, right? Everyone knew that he was going to end up as a DH, and you had JD Martinez on your team, and he opted in. The Red Sox didn't re-sign JD. They didn't pick JD over Kyle Schwarber. JD Martinez opted into his contract that he signed a lifetime before Kyle Schwarber was even thought to be on the Boston Red Sox. So I think you sit there, and it's a little bit of playing armchair GM, 6 years later. At least to me. Hindsight being 2020, trading Casas for Luis Castillo and a prospect does not so bad. Yeah, hindsight, but at the time, I mean, if you look at it, right, the Seattle Mariners were the one to ex-nay that deal. It wasn't the Red Sox. Like, the Red Sox were trying to get that deal done. The Mariners were the ones who were saying, nah, we're good. But it is interesting to me that the Red Sox, the Red Sox are looking at Schwarber as somebody who comes in as like a top guy. You're just timed out for a minute there, the show. You're just timed out for a minute. We just don't. Anytime you spam more than 5 messages, it gets timed out. Schwarber will stay in Philly. Yeah, I think ultimately he will. But it is interesting. Like, again, if we have a conversation about it, right? It's interesting to me that this is a guy the Red Sox are like, yeah, this would be a perfect addition to this team. To me, it's a little bit fascinating because it's like, one of the biggest things they talked about was, strikeouts, improving their strikeouts, but their on-base percentage in general. I mean, this dude this season, and this is one of his best years ever, maybe his best year ever. I wouldn't say I would say potentially his best, right? But his on-base percentage was right in line with what he did the rest of his career, or at least the last 3 years, where is that like above 300 on-base percentage, but closer to that 350 plus on-base percentage, which is huge, right? So is that something that's standing out to the Boston Red Sox? And I'm also curious, the obviously the overall statistics are solid. The average is a little bit lower, but that's who Kyle Schwarber's been his entire career, except for the 40 games he was on the Red Sox for, where he hit almost 3. This dude was unbelievable for the Red Sox. Not enough people talk about how good he was for the Red Sox. I mean, he walked almost as much as he struck out in a Red Sox uniform. But I am curious to see what the statistics look like in high leverage situations. We'll go to leverage. I think clutch stats are right below it. Yeah. Like, I think personally to me, and we could talk about this all the time, where like statistically, you sit there and there's no true measurable metric or whatever for there being a clutch gene or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, look at this, right? 2 outs with runners in scoring position. This dude hit almost 300 with a 1.252 OPS. And I think that's something that stands out a lot to the Red Sox. What's up, Cart? Right? I think you sit here with this and you say, what were the biggest issues with the Sox? Productive outs and hitting with runners in scoring position, especially with 2 outs. This dude was probably one of the best in baseball at it. Right? Even in late and close games. Again, 290 with a 1.147 OPS. That's unbelievable. Right? I mean, he was best in high leverage spots this season, or low leverage spot this season. But even if you look at high leverage spots here, dude at 252 with an 852 OPS. And I'm wondering if this is something with runners in scoring position. You know what I mean? You had 1,000 OPS. Right? I don't think there's a player on this Red Sox team that had 1,000 OPS. So I'm very curious to see if one of the things that the Red Sox are looking for specifically, and maybe they don't get Kyle Schwarber, but it's interesting to me that this is already a guy that they've sort of circled as, hey, this could improve your ball club is these conversations, right? This is a guy who takes pitches. He's going to strike out, but he takes a lot of pitches. He's got that home run power, and he's great with runners in scoring position or with men on, period. Right? And I those are the three big pain points. And so you dive into it and you're like, yeah, it makes a little bit of sense as to why the Red Sox would be, really interested in Kyle Schwarber, even though he's not really a perfect fit for the Boston Red Sox, right? I mean, like, yeah, those things match, but he also can't play the field, and you got to figure out how to fit him in the DH role because, Massa versus Schwarber, as much as Massa was great at the end of the year, right? Like, yeah, okay. Don't forget the K is the biggest problem for the Sox. Yeah, absolutely. Corbin, how could a lockout affect free agency this year, next year? Well, next year could completely get rid of it, right? If you end up with, like we saw with Trevor Story in what was that, 21 going into 22, with the lockout there, he signed in the beginning of March, right? There's no real free agency. So to me, at least a little bit here, who was that? Jay, we're gonna see a lot of these guys, if they can avoid these sort of 1 year opt-out type contracts. Like, I don't think we're going to see Schwarber or Alonso or Bregman or Bellinger or Tucker or whoever you want to name sign these sort of, like the Bregman deal we had last year. I think a lot of guys are going to try and sign at least a 1 year, at least a 2 year contract, just so they could avoid that. And I think you're going to see a lot of teams get really aggressive this offseason too, in order to sort of not have to, fill big needs if there's no offseason, there's very little offseason. We need Freddie Freeman. Yeah, brother. I don't think Freddie's going anywhere, unfortunately. But this is my point, right? Is we go through this Kyle Schwarber stuff, and then people are like, yeah, but don't forget his strikeouts, right? And it's like, yes, there's no perfect solution to any of these problems for the Red Sox right now anywhere. But can you make a perfect solution if you re-sign Bregman, who's, again, a tough guy to strike out, you sign Schwarber, and then you add in, you trade for a number 2 or whatever it is. Right, all of a sudden, I think you fixed just about every hole you were looking for, right? I know the defense has been an issue, but in my opinion, how old is Yandy? My opinion, I think defensively, it's just about staying healthy, right? He's 30. He's going to be 34 next year? Yeah, he's going to be 34 next year. How many years does he have left on his contract? Oh, just 1 year. I mean, the team option's going to get picked up, so just 1 year. I wouldn't totally hate Yandy. Yeah, I wouldn't totally hate Yandy. He's all right. Corbin, do I remember when that guy said, show us a game? Yeah. Why don't people talk to Carly Shremsey, like, for advice on batting? I don't know how much. Carly Shremsey's available, dude. He's what, like 80 something years old? Like, I don't exactly think. Yeah, dude's almost 90, right? I don't think this guy's going into clubhouses and being like, "Hey, boys," you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that he's like openly available. Like, he'll come by once in a while, I have to imagine, but it's for very short appearances. But when he comes to Fenway, he does his thing and then he leaves. He doesn't exactly stay to walk around and talk to people all the time. So I don't really exactly think that this is a dude that the Red Sox can lean on all that much. You know? What do you think you get for Massa? Quite literally nothing, right? You would have to give up something for someone to take Massa, I think. Although I do think the end of the year helped him a bit, but I mean, you're still so underwater on that contract. right? As much as he was good for the last like 3 weeks of the season, as much as, you sit there and you're like, okay, like he's still an above average bat, right? But that's all he can do is an above average bat with not a ton of pop. So it's gonna be tough for the Red Sox to sell this as anything but, because you still have him under contract for, well, I guess he's through 2027, so it'd be 2 years and then he's arbitration eligible. But am I disappointed that Cora brought back Fatsy? No, I'm not totally disappointed. I was a little bit surprised it was as easy as we're bringing him back, and also, Cora definitely has obviously a lot of say in that. I don't know if it's ultimately his decision as to what his coaching staff look like. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's not. I don't know, right? But it sounded like it was a mix, right? Both Breslow and Cora were talking about it. Hitting coaches back, guys. Did we not know this? I'm confused. Like, did you guys just figure this out? But no, I wouldn't say ultimately no. Hire David Ortiz as hitting coach. Brother, I could guarantee you David Ortiz wants nothing. Right? Wants nothing to do with being in a... Dude, David Ortiz is living his life. All right, so the last thing I had, and I wonder if it's right here. No. Was about Trevor Story. Because it sounds like... What do you think? What do you guys think? I just saw this headline from Over the Monster. I wonder who wrote this. Avery? I don't know much about Avery. I'm sure they're very good at what they do. But anyways, I just saw this Bo Bichette if they lose Bregman. Interesting, but what would you do? You do Story second, Bichette, or Story second, or would it be Story shortstop, Bichette second, Meyer at third? I don't know. That's not bad. All right, so this is sort of what I wanted to talk about with Trevor Story. It sounds like, there's no official opt-in or opt-out. He's not able to do that until the World Series ends. But, Chris Cotillo has been all over this, huh? This is what it says. As of mid-September, Red Sox decision makers expect Story, who has 2 years, 55 left on his contract, to opt in. There's a chance he'd make more than that in the open market, but there's also a feeling that he feels loyalty and appreciation towards the Red Sox after missing most of the first 3 years of the deal. I love that, right? I love that. I'm also glad that Trevor Story's coming back, or leaning towards coming back right now, right? I wouldn't say that he's coming back here. I guess we'll do Athlon Sports. I don't love this. So this is what they had to say about what is in my pocket here? Oh. So it's interesting, right? It sounds like they're leaning towards opting in here. I like it. I like him being back for sure. But yeah, I'm curious to see whether or not he does opt out. I mean, we talked about this before, right? The shortstop market is kind of terrible, right? Like, it's Story, and then Ha-Seong Kim, who was Ha-Seong Kim even solid this year? No, not really, right? He was all right. He was okay. A little bit better on the Braves than he was on the Rays, but still not great. And it's Bichette, who is a dog, bit injured. He's also a lot younger, which is interesting. And then it's like, you know what I mean? It's like replacement level guys. Story opts out. He's going to be the number one shortstop available. Probably number 2, actually. But even with Bo Bichette, there's legitimate conversations about teams saying we're not going to give him a big deal to be a shortstop. I don't know. It's definitely interesting though. Like he'll make $25 million a year, right? If he stays in for the next 2 years. So yeah, it'd be 25, and then there's this club option at 35 years old. I don't know the Red Sox would be interested in taking that. I suppose it'd depend on how the first 2 years goes of that, but like you see here with Story, and it's like, yeah, you take that every day, right? If he's gonna opt in, what are you paying Bo Bichette? Right? You're probably paying Bichette close to 30 mil. And I mean, Story was almost a 4-WAR player for you this year. If he hit like he did most of the year for all of May, he'd be one of the best shortstops in baseball, I think, right? I mean, defensively, you saw him drop down. What I think is the best move for the Red Sox, if Story does opt in, is moving to second base. Moving to second base, right? If you move him to second base, you are absolutely chilling. You are absolutely chilling. Because then you can put Meyer at, look we go. We're going to Marcel Meyer. This is why I don't think the Red Sox trade Marcelo. Ultimately, right? I get the injury concern. I get it. But dude, he had 3 outs above average this season. Playing what? He played second base at shortstop or second base at third base the entire year. Right? You go over it, like, this is why he's so important in my opinion. Where's his fielding? Where are defensive runs saved, right? He was a good third baseman, whatever, like a little bit below average second baseman, but eye test was definitely bigger than that, right? He had 2 errors on the entire year. Like this to me is why you hold on to him, because which way you slice it, there's going to be a hole somewhere. Can we negate a Story opt-out if by guaranteeing an extra year? Yeah, I bet you could rework the contract a little bit. But I don't know that the Red Sox would want to put that on themselves, right? Like if I were the Red Sox, there's no way I'm sitting there and I'm saying, yeah, it is open season apparently in our chat right now. But if I'm the Red Sox, I'm not jumping the gun to try and rework this contract. Just say, hey, we'll negate this club option and you'll get that extra year if we can negate your player option right now, right? Because if you're optimistic that he's already going to take this, why would you let go of that leverage at all, right? If you were sitting there saying, yeah, I don't think that he's going to be. I don't think that he's going to be opting into this deal, then maybe you have a conversation about it. But I don't think the Red Sox, it would make a ton of sense for them to go out there. What's interesting is if you look at like the cash he's going to be making, he's only making $5 million, which is funny. But $2 super chat for Mr. Money Mike Madness. Mods, ban the spammer. The only mod we have in here right now is Nightbot. So Nightbot's not going to be helping us out too much, I don't think. So it's just me in here, Mike. I am the only protection between you and the spammers. Good luck out there. Godspeed, chat. What's a team looking to cut costs? Oh my God, Brett, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry. I totally misread this contract. I see what you're saying now. If they just make it clear to him, yeah, we're going to take this, I get it. I get what you're saying. I misread what you said. But yes, so if Story opts out, there's still a chance that the Red Sox can take him. They just pay him that extra year. Which, in all honesty, you at least think about it. Duran for Bobby Witt Jr. Genius. Why haven't we thought about that before? What's the team looking to cut costs? I'd imagine the Padres are a bit. There's not really a ton of teams that have like a ton of inflated. I mean, the Yankees do, but the Yankees will never admit that they were wrong and cut costs. Like the Braves maybe, but the Braves have so many good contracts. Why would they try to cut costs, There's no reason for the Braves to cut costs here. Christian's no man land, a man without a position. He is a little bit a man without a position right now. I think that's going to be an incredibly, incredibly interesting conversation to come into spring training with. Because, yeah, it's going to be interesting. The Texans, yeah, there we go. The Rangers are going to cut costs? I mean, yeah, they could actually. I would be down for an Adolis Garcia. How much is he making right now? How many years in arbitration in these? So he made 12. You made about 13K. So he's got to be close, right? Man, he was not great this year. He's 32 years old. Adolis Garcia is old, dude. I didn't realize he was so old. He's a free agent after this year. Oh, he wasn't great last year either, huh? It was really just these 2 seasons he was decent. Never mind. I'm out on him. Red Sox Bogarts reunion. Brother, I have been banging the Red Sox Bogarts reunion for a minute now. I don't know where you'd put him. The only problem would be is that you'd have to sit here with 2 aging guys who are going to give you around a league average bat, and you're not really going to have a place to put both these guys. What's going on with Von Grissom? The Red Sox will find some way to move him over these next couple of years, or these next couple of months for sure. Yeah, Christian, we got a lot. Definitely got a lot here. Absolutely. Yeah, Von Grissom, I feel bad for Von, man. He was pretty decent this year, actually. Unbelievably annoying that they don't just show me my minor league contract. Like, he was, you know what I mean? Like, he was decent this year. It surprises me that he didn't get a single shot at the major league level. There wasn't a ton. There wasn't a ton of power, right? It was 13 homers in 96 games, but decent strikeout rate, decent walk rate. Hit 270. Like, it's not like this guy was bad. Where's sort of the extracurriculars looking like? I mean, he had 24 doubles. What are we doing with the password? I'd imagine the password's probably on the short list to get traded. As much as I love Justinson Garcia, and that's such an awesome story and name, he's become, in my eyes at least, a little bit more of a lottery pick than he is sort of like this. Understandably, yes, he's going to be like you sat there with Roman and Marcelo and Campbell too, who I still think is sort of unquestionably going to be decent at the major league level at some point. Like, to me, just Stinson isn't quite in that category, right? He's not quite in that category of, oh, yeah, this is going to be a dude, right? And I wonder if we go to, do they do splits? I mean, this is just going to be, major league splits, which is really annoying. Baseball Reference sometimes does it if we do. Yeah, sometimes they would do like oh wait, I wonder if I could just do this. Come on. Damn. Um yeah, we used to be able to do like you look at splits like this on what is going on? Why did my entire screen just get taken over here? Why can't I skip this? Are we dead ass baseball reference? This is crazy. What the hell? Why not Campbell at first? Hey, what's up, Think Bigger? I don't know. They don't seem too inclined to keep Campbell over there at first. Brave browser? Never heard of it. I'll look into it though. Criswell, Grissom, Moran, and Winkowski are all getting moved. Their DFA. They're out of minor league options and not good enough to stick on the Sox active. Winkowski, I think, definitely will. Grissom, I think, definitely will. Criswell is an interesting conversation. Moran, yeah, probably. But Criswell to me is interesting, right? Because Criswell's always been relatively solid at the major league level with the Red Sox. Like, I mean, dude, I would hold on to this guy for one more season, see what happens. Why not, right? Like, if you have to DFA him, you have to DFA him. But, he's come up multiple times in multiple different years now and been a really solid addition. So I sit here and I'm like, yeah, I guess. Campbell, yeah. So one of the things that's interesting to me is that you see this a lot recently, especially I don't know if this is a major league issue or just a Red Sox issue, but like this is now the second or third guy that's lost so much weight in this first full season with the Red Sox that he ends up being unproductive and like lost it really quickly, right? Like Campbell lost 30 pounds in basically 3 months. Like, that's crazy. So I don't know if it's I genuinely I don't know if it's a Red Sox thing. Like I don't want to go on this giant tangent about how the Red Sox need to be better about managing player like weight and stuff. I would have to imagine this is a league-wide issue because it's just the major league season is so much more strenuous than like you guys have to understand. In minor league baseball, when you go on road trips, right, you're on a bus and then you're there in that city, right? Sometimes it's like relatively deep, like it's like Manchester, New Hampshire, right? City-ish. But you're there for like 6 days a week. Right? Major League Baseball, you're there 3 days, sometimes 2 days, and then you get potentially an off day, but most of the time you're directly to another city on a plane. Right? So it's impossible to learn how to manage your body and your ability to stay healthy, I think, for a lot of guys. Thanks for being here, Benjamin. I appreciate you. Do we still hold on to Cutter and Tanner Houck? To me, Cutter's a little bit of an easier yes than Tanner is, right? Because Tanner, you're going to be an interesting conversation because of the Tommy John surgery and because of his free agency. So you sit there with Tanner and it's like, right, like, are you going to pay for him to rehab and then have him play for half a season, then leave in free agency? I don't know, right? But Cutter to me feels like a yes. It sounds like he's going to be healthy to start next season. Whether it's bullpen or rotational depth, you can always use it, right? And I think Cutter's got options too. Like I don't think Cutter's not optionless. Let me see. Yeah, so he's got 2 minor league options remaining. He's not ARB eligible until 2029. I think, yeah. I think you absolutely take Cutter back. Tanner Houck's a free agent after this year, right? No, after the 27 season. Change fandoms? I don't know, Dave. I have no idea. How could still bring a prospect back instead of losing him for nothing? Brother, I don't think you understand. What team is going to pay to have Tanner Houck rehab, right? Because he got it in August. So the bare minimum, it would be, starting to play again at the beginning of the 2027 season, sort of ramping himself back up and joining midway through 2027 just for him to leave at the end of the 2027 season? What team is going to say, yeah, we're going to give you a pretty decent prospect for that, Boston? Like, whenever people say, oh, but Houck's injured, but you could still get something in return for him. If you were the Red Sox and this was the guy you were trading for, and he was on let's say, the Kansas City Royals, what would you give up to get him? Your answer would be, I don't want him, right? That would be your answer. And if you say anything else, you're lying to prove a point. Also, saying Tanner had one good season is a little bit of a stretch here, right? I mean, he did have, this was by far and away his best season for sure. But like, I don't know, dude. 3.15 ERA out of the bullpen, 3.52 ERA. Like, he was a dog. And he got, what was the year he was pretty decent with his saves? Yeah, 2022, where we're all sitting there saying, man, this could be the closer of the future here. I wouldn't say yes, but Boston, again, there is a difference between signing a player and giving up talent, right? You're just giving up money to sign these guys. Worst case scenario, you lose, what, $2, $3, $4 million, and no one really remembers their name. Like Patrick Sandoval, no one's talking about, right? But you're not going to give up any sort of talent that could potentially be somebody for a guy who's going to pitch for you for best case scenario, June through September, 1 year. You're just not going to do it. Right? It's just not, it doesn't make any sense. Someone asked about Zach Gallen, by the way. That was way at the beginning of chat, and I missed it. So I'm gonna go back to it just for a second. I am curious is it Zach Gallen? It's just. I have mixed feelings about Zach Gallen. What's gonna happen with the catcher situation? We upgrade from Wong. I don't see. I don't see the Red Sox playing too heavily into the catcher market. I don't know that there is. I don't know that there's a huge catching market to begin with. Like there really isn't a lot of. There really isn't a lot of depth in this free agent market at all, regardless, right? I mean, Real Muto, but he's getting up there in age. He wasn't incredibly productive this year. Perez, I'm not touching Perez. Contreras will be picked up 100,000%. Mitch Garver, but right? Christian Vasquez, no. Like I don't know that any of these guys are a significant improvement over what the Red Sox have. So, like this to me isn't an area where I sit here and be like, yeah, the Red Sox need to do something in this, right? Last year I thought was your year to go and be like, okay, you want to upgrade. Like Higashioka, I thought would have been solid. Travis Darnell, I thought would have been solid. Carson Kelly, I thought was solid. He actually ended up being a pretty productive player for the Cubs, right? Like to me, this would have been the year for the Sox to go out there and get someone. This year, I just don't think it's worth investing any money into any of these guys. I mean, none of these guys were, except for William, but William has a club option for $12 million. That's going to get picked up, right? If he becomes a free agent, absolutely, but Wong sucks on defense. Does he? Yeah, he wasn't great, huh? Wasn't great blocking or caught stealing or pop time. He was a decent framer. But yeah, not great overall. I mean, but like, who on this list would be significantly better? That's going to be a free agent. How was Real Muto this year? Really great pop time. Terrible with blocks and terrible with framing. With a 700 OPS. I mean, he was all right. But again, you know, if he's looking for 10 plus mil, I don't think you touch him. Vasquez, bring back Vasquez. Yeah, maybe we bring back Vasquez. Although again, like, you know, he was buns at the plate this season, just straight up buns. Oh my lord, Sandy Leon. Yeah, that's who we need. We need Sandy. Like Tom Murphy. I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know that any of these guys are like Gary Sanchez. Definitely not. James McCann. Yeah, I'm all set with Sandy there, brother. Isn't this the guy who's terrible? But if we trade Duran, Passford, two pitching prospects that the Nationals like for Gore. Raymond, I'm having trouble following that, my guy. None of these will move the needle. Yeah. No, but we're not talking about replacing Narvaez. We're talking about a backup catcher for the Red Sox, right? And no, there's not going to be a backup catcher. There's not going to be a backup catcher that you're sitting there being like, oh, yeah, now the Red Sox, right? It's just a backup catcher, guys. I feel like people need every move to be this like headline groundbreaking move. We're talking about backup catcher here, folks, right? Like there's name me a backup catcher in baseball, a backup catcher, not a full-time catcher, a backup catcher that you would sit there and you would say, this is a game, this is how the Red Sox, or this is how any team separated themselves between a bottom tier team and a top tier team. Like name one team that has a backup catcher that did it. You meant move the needle over keeping Wong. That I agree with. Like that I 100% agree with. I don't think any of these guys are incredible enough where one, you'd be paying them more than Connor Wong, and two, would just give you something incredibly better than what Wong is giving you. Shooter, is it gonna be Sandy Leon? It is 1,000% gonna be Sandy Leon, huh? Mackenzie Gore. Dude, me and Mark, I don't know if he's in here, but Mark was also on this page of they should trade for Mackenzie Gore. I would be all in on Mackenzie Gore. I really like him. I mean, the metrics aren't incredibly exciting, but like he figured it out a bit these last two seasons. And like, how old is he? Anyway, 25. He's almost 27. I mean, this is risky, right? This one's definitely risky. He did fall apart a bit at the end of the year last year. Wasn't he like a dog in the first half? Why do I remember that? Months. Yeah, he was. He was an absolute dog in the first half and just fell apart in the second half. Injuries, I'd imagine. Gore would match perfectly with Bailey. Yeah, he kind of would, actually. Bregman's def opting out? Yeah, for sure. Wong is better than we saw in 25. I don't disagree that Wong is better than he was in 25. The problem is I don't know how much better he actually is. Kobe, I told you guys, if you put the same, if you are with unbroken, putting 5 or more chats in at the same time, you get timed out, brother. Imagine the Red Sox taking on a risky pitching option. Wong is better. Yeah, okay. Story opting out? Yeah. No, sorry. Story. It sounds like Story's gonna stay right now, but that's remained to be seen. Okay, well, this is just strictly the Mets, but it looks like yeah. I am Ime. This could be an interesting name to talk about too. 27 years old, 192 ERA this season. This would be an interesting one, but it doesn't look like this. It looks like there's only going to be 3 people that are getting posted. Oh, hey, look, guys. Who's that? They play the Z-Biotics ad as my preview? What the hell, man? Dan Schneider, did he just lead off the game with a home run? And that word will get you... well, we'll just ban you. Red Sox treat potential pitchers. What, Jack? Yeah, see, using that word in my chat will get you immediately banned, by the way. Just a heads up. Have I heard any updates on Casas? Yeah, there was one here. Wait, the Dodgers are the where the hell did my mouse go? Oh. The Blue Jays are now up 2-0 because Vladdy took them deep as well. I don't think you're going to actually use it, Mike. It's kind of a tough word to accidentally use. Did we discuss what I did make a video about Giolito potentially getting a qualifying offer? We went into pretty decent detail about it. What is this? We saw the rain that you want, play the way I feel it. If I go back to last offseason, would I do the Casas versus Castillo, but not including Massa? No, but only because I would include Massa. But I will say, again, that's an unbelievably incredible sort of like armchair GM conversation a bit, right? Because it's like, yeah, of course. If I knew Casas was going to be out for a majority of the season for the second year in a row, I would definitely be more inclined to trade him for a pitcher that's going to potentially have propelled you past the wild card series. But like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, you can't sit here and be like, yeah, well, duh, My biggest question for 2026, will the Wally helmet home run celebration be returning, or will we see something new? You want my opinion? I feel like if you come into a season and you don't end up like the Red Sox lost some wild card round, right? If they had made it to the DS or the CS, I feel like you'd have to hold on to the Wally helmet. But because you only made it to the wild card round and you didn't hit a home run in the wild card round, right? Yeah, there wasn't a single home run in the wild card round, I don't think. Because of that, I feel like you get a new one. If you didn't have the season you wanted to have this year, I feel like you got to get a new celebration. Which sucks because what the hell am I going to do with... What am I going to do with this thing? What am I going to do with this? Like, where is that going to go? Maybe I'll just hold on to it for the memes. I don't know. Duran and Grissom plus cash. What cash would you be giving them, though, Dave? New team, new Selly? True. Oh, yeah, that's right. Story did have a home run. Giveaway? Yeah, does anyone yeah, should I sign the bag of it and give it away? I suppose I could sign the tag. I don't know, we'll find something to do with that. What was our watch party record when I wore it? 1 and 2. I only wore it for the wild card series, so. Did I see what Chapman said about the Yankees? Yeah. Oh yeah. And that made me happy to see, for sure. He also didn't exactly have, he didn't exactly do the best things with his time on the Yankees, so you know. My cats might enjoy trying to sleep in it. I don't know. Would they? I don't know that they would, dude. It probably doesn't smell super great, and I did sweat in it for like 3 straight days. Dude, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., by the way, having an all-time postseason. An all-time postseason. My love in the Poppy A-Rod Jeter beef. Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. The trade rumors last offseason were a movie. What was that? The trade season. I don't know, dude. I feel like this offseason we're going to see some fun things. Because I don't think the Red Sox, I really don't think the Red Sox are going to be able to get everything they want without making a deal. Because I think this offseason they're going to have a lot more confidence on the trade market, right? I mean, whether it works out or not, it's going to be another story. But, when was the last time we saw the Red Sox pull off a deal like they have, last offseason, it'd be that successful? How am I feeling heading in the offseason? I'm pretty optimistic. Like, I feel like a lot of Red Sox fans just revert to this sort of negativity for the offseason. I'm feeling pretty optimistic, Like, I genuinely think the Red Sox have a game plan, understand the game plan, and are gonna try their best. I'm more nervous about actually seeing it be executed than I am in terms of the Red Sox trying. Does that make sense? Dude, my friend who's like a diehard Blue Jays fan is making me so jealous right now. But he's just having the time of his life in this World Series. Ugh. Hate it. You agree? Yeah, I don't really see a ton of cause for like this team's gonna suck or whatever. If we lock down a great pitcher early, Sox fans will be a lot more optimistic. Hmm. Yeah, Meek. I'm in here battling for my life. um. Yes and no, Jack. I think what a lot of Red Sox fans need to see is they need to see the Red Sox outbid a team for a flat out contract. Right? Like we've seen them make the big trade, and they obviously outbid people for that for Garrett Crochet. We've seen them get crafty enough to sign a big contract recently with Bregman, right? But I think a lot of Red Sox fans are still kind of sitting there tepid about the situation because of the fact that the Red Sox, they haven't truly outbid the rest of the competition. Right? When was the last time we heard the Red Sox went out there and they got their guy? Right? Even with Bregman, it took convincing, and you sat there and on your thumbs a little bit. The guys who you tried for this offseason, you didn't end up getting. Or last offseason, I should say. Price, yeah, Price probably. I mean, Massa, I think you put in that category, right? As a guy that the Red Sox wanted, outbid everybody for, and got. Not that it worked out super well, but how'd that go over, Mike? That's good. Beckett era? No, it was definitely like recenter, more recenter. I don't know. I would say Massa was definitely the last one. The Phillies were interested in Durant at the deadline. Could you see something there? I just don't know. I don't know what the Phillies would offer the Red Sox where you'd sit there and be like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. The Red Sox have to take it, right? Because it feels like if you're going to trade Durant, if they're going to trade Durant, it has to be one of those sort of like no-brainer deals, right? I don't think they're going to dump him. And not that I think the Phillies would realistically like dump him, or the Red Sox would dump him to the Phillies, but like, I don't know, what would the Phillies have to offer that you'd be like, yeah, it's a no-brainer, right? Do I know anything about the Harper Dombrowski drama? No, I'm just a fan. I know nothing. Phillies trade Real Muto. He's a free agent. I think Price worked out. We had no other plan to get an ace, and he was relatively healthy. Yeah, I don't think it was terrible. I never considered the David Price contract a failure. I mean, you won a World Series with the guy, and he was solid in that World Series, wasn't he? Unless I'm an idiot, you know? But I don't think I'm an idiot, at least not most of the time. And it's not like he was a terrible player of the Red Sox. Honestly, a lot of it was he just wasn't super healthy with the Red Sox. Right? Like his first year here in Boston, he had a 4 ERA, but he pitched 35 games, had 230 innings. You know? That's sort of a mid-rotation name. And then 2017, he had a 338 ERA, but he only pitched in 16 games. Then obviously the big year, in my opinion, was 2018, where he had a 358 ERA. Like that's good stuff, you know? Yeah, Steve, that was a tough one. Raw Blue Jays fans in here, right? Yeah, at least I am. Skubal or George Kirby? Yeah, I'm curious to see what names we start to see the Red Sox target as we get into the off season. I think it's gonna be pretty important. I mean, yeah, he had a 3.46 ERA during the postseason. 26 innings. He was 4-2 in his games. Yeah. Have we made a prediction for the World Series? I think it's Blue Jays in 7. I think this is going to 7 games. But I'm also we're what? This is gonna be Game 5. Is this Game 5? Yeah, it's 2-2, right? Yeah. I think this is a pretty important game, but I think this is going to 7 games. Keep the Wally. It's instantly iconic to the Sox, like the Mariners tried it. But yeah, but what have the Mariners done? What have the Mariners done with that celebration? Like celebrations have to be a bit of good luck, and right now it's not great luck. So I don't know, brother. Dodgers in 7? Yeah, I could see that. This offseason might be the silliest in the last 20 years. I could see it being a little bit of a ridiculous offseason. Again, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that get really desperate this offseason. And I think there's going to be a lot of players who get really desperate this offseason. The only free agent pitcher worth looking at for number 2 is Cease. Nah, Bieber I'd put in that conversation. Michael King I'd put into that conversation. Those would be my 3 guys. In terms of free agents, I'd be like, all right, yeah, the Red Sox made a significant upgrade in my opinion. But outside of that, yeah, there's not, in my opinion, a ton of options that are like, okay, this is going to make a legitimate improvement to the rotation. So we'll see. I personally, I think it's gonna be a lot of trading this offseason. You hope the Sox sign at least one of the big Japanese players. My fear is it's gonna be Murakami over Kazuma. Because in my opinion, Kazuma's such like more of a surefire thing, but the Red Sox love doing this thing where they like think they're better, you know. Yeah, Bieber. I actually might make a video about Bieber tomorrow. You on the push for Bo Bichette? Where would Bo Bichette play? I'm not putting Bo Bichette at third base. I don't want to see a single Bo Bichette at third base. They're both signed with the Dodgers. I actually don't think maybe one of them goes to the Dodgers. I don't think both of them go to the Dodgers, dude. You can't have 2 corner infielders with Freddie Freeman in there. You can't do it, right? So at most, the Dodgers can fit one of these guys in there. And in my opinion, if I'm the Dodgers, I'm taking the chances. I'm taking chances with Murakami because Murakami definitely has the higher ceiling. You know, the Red Sox aren't in a huge position to take that big a risk, but we'll see. I don't know. Toronto, Texas, Tampa Bay, San Diego. What is this order? Los Angeles, Alex Vesia, Michael Kopech, Miguel Rojas, Clay Kershaw, who's retiring, Max Muncy, Kirby Yates, Michael Conforto, so not really. What about Kyle Tucker? I would love Kyle Tucker. I don't think the Red Sox signed Kyle Tucker, but I would love Kyle Tucker. I don't know how they'd fit him into this team. Figure it out. But that's a dude that, like, we talk about it. Like, I've already talked about this a bunch of times, right? Kyle Tucker is, to me, the answer to every single one of the Red Sox problems. He is. Right? You want a guy who doesn't strike out a lot? Great. Let's get the guy whose, strikeout rate and walk rate were almost identical this season. How about a guy with home run potential? Great. This guy had at least 20 home runs in the last 3 seasons and has had seasons where he's been a 30, 40 plus home run guy, you know? What's up, Dinah? Like, I sit here with Tucker and I'm like, dude, like this to me would be the, oh my God, the Red Sox are going for it. Like, holy hell type move, right? I don't think it happens, and I think there's more sensible answers to it, but man, this would be unbelievable. This would be unbelievable. Again, not gonna happen, but it would be sick. Is he the most valuable player on the market? Yeah, he is. Framber Valdez is second. That's crazy. Cody Bellinger. What is his contract? What is Shota Managa's contract? It has to be something where he's not gonna. Conditional club option. Let's see. What? After 2020-25, club can exercise 2028 option. Bring overall value. $15 million player option if club declines. I have no idea. doesn't look like he's gonna be. Doesn't look like he's gonna be going anywhere. But that's a wild contract right there. Oh my God. Tucker's also defensive fit. The only part I don't like is it squeezes Campbell out of left. Yeah, it kind of does, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it would be interesting. I love Tucker, but how and what do you give up? You'd probably, if you sign Kyle Tucker, your outfield has to be Roman in right, Cedon in center, and Tucker in left. And I think if the only way you sign Tucker is if you trade both Abreu and Jarren Duran, and I don't think you do that, right? So I think it's a bit of a pipe dream, but it's a fun one to talk about. Duran has a slightly higher WAR than Tucker this year. I'm curious to see. Like I've seen that a lot of like, oh yeah, but he also played 20 less games. Let's fully compare this. You can't move Willier to center field though, Mike. You can't move Willier to center field, unfortunately. It's just not gonna work. Hello? Thank you. So here is the problem with people saying, oh, Duran had a higher WAR, right? Kyle Tucker played 20 less games than him and had almost an identical WAR. What would have happened if he had played those 20 more games, right? I mean, if we just do law of averages here. If they played the exact amount of games, Kyle Tucker would have had a 5.2 WAR and Duran would have had a 4.6 WAR. Right, so that doesn't already, right? He had more home runs, he had more stolen bases than Jarren Duran this season. Think about that. All of this in 20 less games. Right? Had a better average, had a better on base percentage, had a better slug, had a better OPS, had a better OPS plus. Like, if we're being honest here, if we are being totally honest here, it is not that much of a comparison, and it's ridiculous to me that people just see WAR and go, oh, yeah. They were pretty comparable players. It's like, you know? Like, I wonder, does it give us? No, it doesn't let us compare. I mean, I'd have to subscribe, but well, that's a pretty rough comparison, you know? Tucker, still, even if you want to make the argument that Duran was better or whatever this year, even though by literally every metric he isn't, you still sit there and you say, yeah, there's just no way that Tucker isn't the better fit. But regardless, we're getting down that rabbit hole once again, and a lot of people hate when I get down the rabbit hole of saying Duran isn't the best player in the world. Pick my Kyle pill, it's blue every single time. It's blue every single time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it here, 8:30. I appreciate you guys being here. I'll be back tomorrow. You know, we're talking Sox every day, baby. We're pushing through to the offseason, so I'll see you guys there. Thank you to everyone who was here tonight. I know it was a much smaller stream than you guys are used to, but it's just sort of it's the time of the year, you know what I mean? It'll definitely get a whole lot more entertaining as we get along here, but I appreciate you being here regardless. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.